Hello, and welcome to the Mythic Archive. If you are a fan of fantasy, if you love The Lord of the Rings, or Game of Thrones, or The Witcher, then you are living in the shadow of the story I am about to tell you. This is the Volsunga Saga. It is the great Icelandic epic of the 13th century, but its roots go back much further, to the chaotic migration period of Europe. It is the story that gave us the archetype of the Dragon Slayer. It gave us the cursed ring of power. It gave us the broken sword that must be reforged. And it gave us the tragic, doomed love between a mortal hero and a divine warrior woman. This is the story of the Volsungs, a family descended from Odin himself, whose history is a river of blood, incest, betrayal, and glory. It is a story so dark and so violent that it makes Greek tragedy look like a children's book. And it all begins not with a ring, but with a tree. We start with King Volsung, the great-grandson of Odin. He built his palace in a very specific way. He built it around a massive oak tree called the barnstalker. The tree grew right in the middle of his hall, its branches piercing the roof, its roots under the floor. One night, during a wedding feast for his daughter Signy, a stranger appeared in the hall. He was an old man, wrapped in a blue cloak, with only one eye. He strode to the tree, drew a magnificent sword, and drove it deep into the trunk of the oak. He declared that whoever could pull this sword from the tree would receive it as a gift from him, and it would never fail them in battle. Then he vanished. This was Odin, and he had just planted the seed of the family's destruction. Every man at the wedding tried to pull the sword. The groom, King Sigurd of Gothland, tried and failed. But Volsung's eldest son, Sigmund, stepped up and pulled the sword from the wood as if it were loose in a scabbard. King Sigurd was jealous. He offered to buy the sword for 3 times its weight in gold. Sigmund refused, insulting the king. Sigurd went home in a rage, plotting revenge. He invited Volsung and his 10 sons to visit him in Gothland. It was a trap. The Volsungs walked into an ambush. King Volsung was killed. His 10 sons were captured, bound, and left in the woods. King Sigurd did not just execute them. He wanted them to suffer. He chained them to a fallen tree in the deep forest. Every night, a massive she-wolf came out of the darkness. The saga implies this wolf was actually Sigurd's mother, a shape-shifting witch. The wolf ate one brother every night. For 9 nights, Sigmund had to watch his brothers being devoured one by one. On the 10th night, only Sigmund was left. His sister Signy, who was forced to be Sigurd's queen, sent a servant to smear honey on Sigmund's face and put some in his mouth. When the wolf came to eat him, she licked the honey first. When her tongue went into his mouth, Sigmund bit down. He bit down on the wolf's tongue and did not let go. The wolf thrashed in pain, bracing her feet against the tree trunk. She pulled so hard that the tree split apart, freeing Sigmund, but he tore her tongue out by the roots, killing her. Sigmund escaped into the woods, living as an outlaw, plotting his revenge. For years, Sigmund lived in an underground dwelling in the forest. His sister Signy wanted to help him take revenge, but she knew he needed a companion of his own blood. In a twist that is shocking to modern audiences, Signy disguised herself as a sorceress and visited her brother in the woods. Unknowingly, Sigmund slept with his own sister. From this union, a son was born, Sinfjotli. He was a pure-blooded Volsung, the fiercest boy who ever lived. Signy sent him to the woods to be raised by Sigmund. Together, father and son roamed the forest. One day they found a house where two men were sleeping with gold rings on their fingers. Above them hung wolf skins. These men were skinwalkers, cursed to be wolves for 9 days and men for 1. Sigmund and Sinfjotli, driven by curiosity or perhaps destiny, put on the skins. The magic took hold. They transformed into wolves. They could not take the skins off. For days, they rampaged through the forest, howling, hunting men, and losing their humanity. At one point, they even fought each other, with Sigmund tearing out Sinfjotli's throat before regretting it and healing him with a magical leaf brought by a raven. This episode serves to strip away their civilization. To defeat the evil King Sigurd, they had to become monsters themselves. They had to embrace the beast within the blood of Odin. Only after they burned the skins were they ready to return to civilization and burn Sigurd's hall to the ground. Sigmund and Sinfjotli returned to their ancestral lands and reclaimed the kingdom of the Volsungs. They had survived the wolves, the forest, and the fire. They were invincible in battle. But the curse of the ring, or perhaps just the curse of their violent blood, followed them home. Sigmund married a woman named Borghild. She hated her stepson, Sinfjotli, because he was the result of incest and he was a rival to her own children. She decided to remove him, not with a sword, but with a cup. At a funeral feast, she offered Sinfjotli a horn of ale. Sinfjotli looked into the cup and said to his father, "The drink is cloudy." Sigmund, who had been granted immunity to all poisons by the gods, took the horn and drained it himself. Borghild offered a second horn. Again Sinfjotli refused, and again Sigmund drank it for him. But the third time, Borghild taunted the boy. She called him a coward. She challenged his manhood. Goaded by pride, and perhaps trusting his father too much, Sinfjotli took the third horn. Sigmund, drunk and weary, said, "Filter it through your mustache, son." It was fatal advice. Sinfjotli drank. The poison was so potent that he fell dead the moment the liquid touched his lips. The fiercest warrior of the age, the boy who had lived as a wolf, was killed by a sip of ale. Sigmund's grief was boundless. He picked up his son's body and carried him to the sea, where a mysterious boatman, Odin in disguise, took the corpse and vanished. Sigmund ruled for many years, eventually marrying a young princess named Hjordis. But his time was drawing to a close. A great army led by King Lingvi attacked his lands. Sigmund fought like a god. He was old, but he was still the wielder of the sword from the tree. No iron could bite him. He waded through the enemy army, turning the tide of battle single-handedly. And then he met his match. It was not a warrior. It was an old man in a wide-brimmed hat and a blue cloak, holding a simple wooden spear. It was Odin. The god who had given him the sword was now there to take it back. Sigmund struck at the spear with all his might, but instead of cutting the wood, the sword shattered. It broke into pieces. In that moment, the luck of the Volsungs left him. Sigmund fell, mortally wounded. That night, Hjordis found him on the battlefield. She wanted to heal him, but Sigmund refused. He told her that Odin had withdrawn his favor. He gathered the shards of his broken sword, the pieces of Gram, and gave them to her. "Keep these," he gasped. "You are pregnant with a son. He will be the greatest of us all, and one day this sword will be reborn in his hand." And then the old wolf died. Hjordis fled to the court of King Alf, where she gave birth to Sigmund's son. She named him Sigurd. In German mythology, he is Siegfried. He grew up to be beautiful, strong, and fearless, with eyes that sparkled like stars. His tutor was a man named Regin. Regin was not human. He was a dwarf, a master smith, and the brother of a dragon. Regin saw the potential in the boy. He saw a weapon. He manipulated Sigurd, goading him into seeking wealth and glory. He told Sigurd the story of the dragon Fafnir, who sat upon a hoard of cursed gold. "Kill him," Regin whispered, "and the gold is yours." But Sigurd needed a weapon. Regin forged him sword after sword, but Sigurd broke them all on the anvil, laughing at their poor quality. Finally, he went to his mother and asked for the shards of his father's sword. He brought the pieces of Gram to Regin. The smith used his ancient magic to reforge the blade. When it was finished, Sigurd tested it. He struck the anvil. The sword did not break. Instead, it sliced the iron anvil clean in two, right down to the wooden base. He then threw a piece of wool into a river and let it float against the edge of the sword. The wool was sliced apart by the mere current against the blade. Sigurd held the weapon of destiny. He looked at Regin and said, "I will kill your dragon, but first I must avenge my father." Sigurd was a man of his word. Before he went to the dragon, he took his army and avenged his father, killing the sons of Hunding. Now he turned his eyes to the gold. Regin led him to Gnita Heath, the wasteland where Fafnir dwelt. Fafnir was not a dragon in the modern sense. He was a lindworm, a massive wingless serpent that crawled on its belly. He was so large that when he moved, the earth shook. He breathed poison that withered the landscape for miles. Regin, the treacherous dwarf, gave Sigurd a plan. He told him to dig a pit in the path where the dragon crawled to the water. "Sit in the pit," Regin said, "and when he crawls over you, stab him in the heart." It was a good plan, but it was also a trap. Regin hoped that the dragon's toxic blood would fill the pit and drown Sigurd, leaving the gold for the dwarf. But Sigurd was protected by the All-Father. As he was digging, an old one-eyed man appeared to him. It was Odin. He told Sigurd to dig not just one pit, but many drainage ditches leading away from it. This advice saved his life. The ground began to tremble. Fafnir appeared, a mountain of scales and venom. He crawled over the trench. Sigurd did not flinch. He waited until the dragon's heart was directly above him. Then, with all his strength, he drove the sword Gram upward. The blade sliced through the dragon's scales and pierced its heart. Fafnir roared and thrashed, his black blood pouring into the trench. But thanks to Odin's advice, the blood drained away, and Sigurd was not drowned. The dragon, dying, spoke to his killer. This is a key trope in Norse myth, the dying prophecy. Fafnir warned Sigurd that the gold was cursed. He warned him that Regin would betray him. "The ringing gold," the dragon hissed, "and the red rings will be your death." Sigurd replied with the stoic philosophy of the North, "Every man must one day die. It is better to die rich than poor." Fafnir died. Sigurd was now the Dragon Slayer. Regin came out of hiding after the dragon was dead. He claimed that since he forged the sword, he deserved a share of the glory. He asked Sigurd to do him a favor, roast the dragon's heart so Regin could eat it. Sigurd agreed. He built a fire and put the heart on a spit. When he thought it was done, he touched it with his finger to check the temperature. The blood seared his skin. Instinctively, Sigurd put his burnt thumb into his mouth to cool it. In that instant, the dragon's blood touched his tongue. And suddenly the world changed. He could understand the language of the birds. He heard two nuthatches chattering in the tree above him. "There sits Sigurd," one bird said, "roasting the heart for Regin. He should eat it himself and become the wisest of men." The other bird replied, "There lies Regin, plotting to kill Sigurd and take all the gold. If Sigurd were wise, he would cut off the dwarf's head." The birds told him the truth. Sigurd stood up. He looked at Regin and saw the treachery in his eyes. He drew Gram and with a single stroke cut off the dwarf's head. He then ate a piece of the heart and drank the dragon's blood. He gained the wisdom of the beast and the strength of the earth. He went into the dragon's lair and took the hoard. He put on the Helm of Awe, a magical helmet that struck terror into enemies, and he took the ring, the cursed ring, and Varanaut. He loaded the treasure onto his horse, Grani. The horse, miraculously, refused to move until Sigurd placed the entire hoard on its back, showing that it, too, was a divine creature. Sigurd rode away, the richest and most powerful hero in the world, but he was riding toward a destiny far more dangerous than any dragon. The birds gave him one last piece of advice. They told him of a maiden sleeping on a mountain called Hindarfell. Sigurd rode south. He saw a light on the mountain that reached the sky. It was a ring of fire, burning endlessly. Sigurd rode Grani straight through the flames. The horse did not flinch. Inside the ring of fire lay a castle, and in the courtyard lay a warrior in full armor, asleep. Sigurd approached. He removed the helmet and saw the face of a woman. He tried to wake her, but she did not stir. The armor seemed fused to her skin. He took his sword, Gram, and gently cut the armor off her, slicing through the mail as if it were cloth. As the armor fell away, she woke up. This was Brynhild. She was a Valkyrie, a chooser of the slain. Odin had punished her for disobeying him in battle. She had struck down the wrong king. Odin condemned her to sleep in a ring of fire until a man brave enough to cross the flames came to claim her. She had sworn an oath to marry only a man who knew no fear. Sigurd was that man. They fell in love instantly. It was a meeting of equals. He was the greatest hero. She was a warrior goddess. Brynhild taught him runes and wisdom. They pledged their troth to each other. Sigurd gave her the ring and Varanaut as a promise of marriage. It was the happiest moment of their lives. They swore eternal love, but they forgot that they lived in a world of fate and curses. Sigurd had to leave to continue his journey, promising to return for her. He rode to the court of King Giuki, the land of the Burgundians. And there, the curse of the ring began to work. A potion of forgetfulness was being brewed, and a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions was about to begin. Sigurd rode to the kingdom of the Burgundians, ruled by King Giuki. He was welcomed as the greatest hero of the age. His armor shone with the light of the dragon's hoard, and his eyes held the wisdom of the birds. But the true power in this kingdom was not the king. It was his wife, Queen Grimhild. She was a sorceress, a woman of profound ambition and no scruples. She saw Sigurd not just as a guest, but as an asset. She wanted his strength, his gold, and his lineage for her own family. She looked at her daughter, the beautiful and gentle Gudrun, and decided that she must marry Sigurd. But there was a problem. Sigurd's heart belonged entirely to Brynhild, the Valkyrie he had awakened on the mountain. He spoke of her constantly. He was bound to her by oaths and by the ring and Varanaut. Grimhild knew that ordinary persuasion would not work against such a love. She brewed a potion. It was an ale of forgetfulness, mixed with the magic of the earth and the sea. At a great feast she offered the horn to Sigurd. He took it, trusting the hospitality of the queen. He drank deep. The magic took hold instantly. It did not kill him. It did something far worse. It erased Brynhild from his mind. It was a surgical strike on his soul. In an instant, the Valkyrie, the ring of fire, the oaths, and the love that defined him vanished into mist. He looked up from the cup and saw Gudrun. Without the memory of Brynhild, he saw Gudrun as the most beautiful woman in the world. He fell in love with her, or at least, he fell into the love that Grimhild had manufactured for him. This is the tragedy of Sigurd. He conquered the dragon, but he was defeated by a drink. With his memory gone, Sigurd became the champion of the Burgundians. He married Gudrun. The wedding was magnificent, funded by the dragon's gold. But the alliance went deeper than marriage. Sigurd swore an oath of blood brotherhood with Gudrun's brothers, Gunnar and Hogni. They cut a strip of turf, leaving it attached at both ends, and propped it up with a spear. They stood beneath the arch of earth and let their blood flow into the soil, mixing together. They swore that an injury to one was an injury to all. They swore to avenge each other's deaths. Sigurd, the son of Odin, bound his fate to the sons of Giuki. They spent years campaigning together. They expanded the kingdom. They were the perfect team. But Grimhild was not finished. She wanted more power. She looked at her eldest son Gunnar and decided he needed a wife. And not just any wife. She told him of a legend. A maiden who slept behind a wall of fire on a mountain. A maiden named Brynhild. Gunnar, inspired by tales of her beauty and power, decided he would woo her. He asked Sigurd to help him, and Sigurd, the blood brother who had completely forgotten that Brynhild was his own fiancée, agreed to help Gunnar win her. It is a situation of agonizing dramatic irony. The hero is riding to win his own wife for his best friend. They rode to the mountain Hindarfell. The fire burned as fiercely as ever, a roaring wall of flame that touched the clouds. Gunnar spurred his horse toward the fire, but the animal shied away, terrified. He beat the horse, but it would not move. Gunnar then asked Sigurd if he could borrow Grani, the horse of the Dragon Slayer. Sigurd agreed. Gunnar mounted Grani, but the divine horse knew the difference. It would not move for anyone but Sigurd. It refused to carry Gunnar into the fire. They were stuck. Gunnar could not fulfill the condition to win Brynhild. This is where the deception deepens. Grimhild had taught her sons the art of shape-shifting. Gunnar proposed a solution. They would use magic to swap forms. Sigurd would take on the appearance of Gunnar, and Gunnar would stay behind looking like Sigurd. Sigurd, bound by his oath to help his brother, agreed. The spell was cast. Sigurd, now wearing the face of Gunnar, mounted Grani. The horse, feeling its master's touch, leaped forward. Sigurd rode straight into the inferno. The fire roared, the earth shook, but the hero and the horse passed through unharmed. He arrived at the castle. Brynhild was waiting. She saw a man ride through the fire and assumed it was her destiny. She did not recognize Sigurd behind the mask of Gunnar. She asked him who he was. "I am Gunnar, son of Giuki," he lied, "and I have crossed the fire to claim you." Brynhild was devastated. She had expected Sigurd to return, but she was bound by her oath to marry the man who crossed the flames. She accepted him. That night they slept in the same bed. But Sigurd, loyal to his blood brother, placed his drawn sword, Gram, between them in the bed. He did not touch her. He took the ring Inveranot from her finger, the very ring he had given her, and replaced it with another. In the morning, He rode back through the fire, swapped shapes with Gunnar again, and they returned home. Gunnar married Brynhild. The lie was complete. But the ring, the cursed ring, was now back in Sigurd's possession, and he gave it to his wife, Gudrun. For a time there was peace. The two couples lived in the same hall, Sigurd and Gudrun, Gunnar and Brynhild. But secrets in mythology are like wounds that never heal. They fester. One day, the two queens went down to the Rhine River to bathe. Brynhild, proud and arrogant, waded further upstream into the river. She declared that she could not bear to wash her hair in the water that had touched Gudrun's body. She claimed her husband, Gunnar, was the greater man because he had ridden through the ring of fire, while Sigurd was merely a servant. This insult was too much for Gudrun. She possessed the fatal flaw of her family, which was pride. She snapped. She told Brynhild the truth. She revealed that it was not Gunnar who rode through the fire, but Sigurd in disguise. And to prove it, she produced the ring, and Varanot, the very ring Brynhild had given to the man who conquered the flames. Brynhild recognized it instantly. Her world shattered. The man she loved had betrayed her, handed her over to his lesser brother, and laughed about it with his new wife. She realized her marriage was a fraud, and her honor was stained. She turned pale as a corpse and walked back to the palace in silence. That silence was the calm before the storm that would destroy them all. Brynhild retired to her chambers and did not come out. She did not eat, she did not drink, she did not speak. She lay in her bed, consumed by a cold Viking fury. When Gunnar tried to comfort her, she exploded. She told him she knew the truth. She told him he was a coward and a liar who had won her through deceit. She demanded only one thing to restore her honor: blood. She gave Gunnar an ultimatum that would end the golden age of the Volsungs. She said, "Sigurd must die, or I will die. And if I die, I will take you and your kingdom down with me." Gunnar was trapped. He loved his wife, but he also loved Sigurd, his blood brother. He went to his younger brother, Hogni, for counsel. They debated for hours. They were bound by the holiest of oaths, not to harm Sigurd. To kill a blood brother was to invite the wrath of Odin and eternal damnation. But Brynhild's threat was real, and their envy of Sigurd's gold and power had been growing in the darkness of their hearts. They needed a loophole. They needed a weapon that was not bound by their oath. They remembered their youngest brother, Guttorm. Guttorm was young, foolish, and most importantly, he had not been present when the blood oath was sworn. He was free to kill Sigurd without breaking the sacred bond. But Guttorm was not a killer by nature. He needed to be changed. Gunnar and Hogni took the boy and performed a dark ritual. They fed him the meat of a wolf to make him savage. They fed him the meat of a snake to make him treacherous. They mixed it with beer and magic herbs. The mixture drove the boy mad. He became a berserker, a hollow vessel filled only with the desire to murder. They gave him a sword and pointed him towards Sigurd's bedchamber. It was a cowardly act. They unleashed a child to do the work of men, hoping to cheat fate and honor. It happened just before dawn. Guttorm, the boy driven mad by magic and meat, crept into the royal bedchamber. Sigurd was sleeping in the arms of his wife, Gudrun. He was vulnerable. He was at peace. Guttorm did not hesitate. He lunged forward and drove his sword through Sigurd's body, pinning the greatest hero of the age to his own bed. The pain woke Sigurd instantly. But even in death, he was a Volsung. As Guttorm turned to flee, Sigurd reached out. He could not stand, so he grabbed his legendary sword, Gram, by the blade. With his final ounce of strength, he hurled the sword across the room. It spun through the air and struck Guttorm as he reached the door, slicing the assassin completely in half. Sigurd fell back. He looked at his weeping wife, Gudrun. He told her not to weep too loudly, for his fate had been sealed long ago by the prophecy of the dragon. He comforted her with his dying breath, naming his killer and understanding. Finally, the tragedy of the ring, and then the Dragon Slayer died. When Brynhild heard the wail of Gudrun echoing through the halls, she did not smile. She laughed, a terrible hollow laugh that chilled the blood of everyone who heard it. But her laughter soon turned to weeping. She had destroyed the only man she ever loved. She summoned Gunnar and Hogni. She told them the truth of the deception, that she and Sigurd had never betrayed Gunnar, that the sword had always lain between them. Gunnar, realizing his mistake, begged her to live. But Brynhild was finished with the world of lies. She took a sword and stabbed herself below the breast. As she lay dying, she made one final request. She asked to be burned on the same pyre as Sigurd. She asked that the sword Gram be placed between them once more, just as it had been in the bed, a symbol of their pure, unconsummated union. The fire consumed them both. The hero and the Valkyrie were reunited in death, leaving behind a cursed gold and a ruined kingdom. The saga does not end there. The curse of the ring and Varanaut had to claim its final victims. Years later, Gudrun was forced to marry King Atli. You might know him as Attila the Hun. Atli lusted after the dragon's gold, which Gunnar and Hogni had hidden in the deep waters of the Rhine River. Atli invited the brothers to his hall, trapping them. A brutal battle erupted in the feasting hall, but the Burgundians were overwhelmed. Hogni was captured, and his heart was cut out while he laughed, the ultimate display of Viking bravery. Gunnar was thrown into a pit of snakes. His hands were bound, but Gudrun had thrown him a harp. In a final act of defiance, Gunnar played the harp with his toes. The music was so beautiful that it charmed the snakes to sleep, all except one. An adder, deaf to the music and perhaps sent by the curse itself, slithered to the king and bit him directly over the heart. Gunnar died, taking the secret of the gold to his grave. The Rheingold remains lost to this day. The final act belongs to Gudrun. She had lost Sigurd. She had lost her brothers. She had lost her mind. In a horrific echo of the Greek myths, she took revenge on her husband Atli for killing her family. She killed her 2 sons by Atli, mixed their blood with wine, and fed their roasted hearts to the king at a feast. When Atli asked for his sons, she told him, "You have eaten them." In his shock and sickness, she killed him in his bed and set the hall on fire. The saga ends in flames. The entire line of the Volsungs, save for a few distant threads, was extinguished. It is a story that reminds us that greed, the lust for gold, and the breaking of oaths are the true dragons of this world. They consume everything, leaving nothing but ash and legend.